Alright, I think we're live, and yeah, today I want to back to my Rust journey and Rust in Axum. Actually, yeah. Recently I stopped on the config, and next will be db live reload. This is what we'll take a look today. So yeah, let's I jump somewhere else. Yeah, let's start. Here's our project.
We can go to the serious stuff here of creating our database. So now let's go to chapter 4, which is the database and the live reload, which is critical for fast development. And before we start with the code, let's do a quick overview of unit testing and integration testing. So when you have your service code, for example, this is our code, you write your unit test for most of the layers. You have some sort of unit test infrastructure within your code, and then you have your integration test that use a real database, Redis, Amazon S3, or whatever external services you are using. So today we're not going to write or talk about integration testing, but we are going to write quite a bit of unit tests, which is very important. Even if at the beginning you write only some, is much better than none. So make sure to always start with some unit tests, and then you can grow them over time. That will usually help you iterate faster and have more robust code. Now on the unit test side, we have two strategies. One strategy is for all of these external services, we are going to write mock services. And in this strategy, everything is going to be contained within the same process. So when you do unit test on model, for example, the model will talk to the DB mock. The catch of this is that now in your application code, your model has to know that sometimes it has to talk to the real thing and sometimes it has to talk to the mock. So that will cascade back up more or less, probably not all the way up, but there's going to be quite a bit of branching that will be happening into your application code. So the result of that is that typically this is quite intrusive into your application code. The second downside of this approach is that you are actually testing a code path that will never ever be used in production. So some of this code paths will be, but others won't be, and you will have to trust that your integration test will take care of this code path. But the great things about unit tests, and moreover the way they are done in Rust, is that they allow you to be very granular into testing private functions. And so we don't want to lose these benefits, because that is lost when you go to integration testing. And also, most of the time when things fail is in between your program and the database or Redis. The other approach is to have your unit test infrastructure having the real Postgres database, the Redis, and an S3 service. And you put that in a local host or a local Kubernetes. And in S3, we are pretty lucky because we have Minio, which is a very good mock services. For S3, it's much more, you can use it for production as well, but it really follows the S3 APIs. So now when the unit test is
Sorry, need to open door for my cat.
there's a model, the model will actually talk to a real Postgres database with all of the intricacies and all of the details that matters to our application code. And obviously it's the same thing for other services. So the complexity of the unit test on the service code decreased, now it's much simpler on this side. Now on the unit test infrastructure, the complexity is going to be a little bit higher now, because you are going to have to take care of initializing and starting all of these services and making sure that now your unit test environment can have these environments. But for our style of programming, that has a very big net value. So this is the approach that we are going with. Okay, enough talking, let's start coding. So first, what we are going to add to our cargo to ML is going to be SQLX. Make sure to add.
Okay. cargo. Version 0.6. Runtime Tokyo.
To add the features Postgres.
Let's do the following way. Cargo creates SQL X. So runtime Tokyo results. Runtime Tokyo results. Then Postgres. ID and time. Of course, do update.
And UUID and time. This is what we're going to use later. And then we're going to create our first SQL files. So the way it's going to work is that
And yeah, else we restart and create SQL directory.
we're going to be very iterative, and so every time we're changing a source file on our server, the database will get recreated from scratch. So the old one will be dropped and the new one will be recreated. Eventually, you want to have evolution. Some people are calling it migration. I prefer to call it evolution. We are going to talk about that in future episodes, but right now it's going to be early on in the development stage where you can rebuild the database from scratch all the time, and that will be a good starting point to then after have a strategy of database evolution. So within our SQL folder, we are going to create a folder which is going to be dev initial. And the first files that we are going to create, and we are going to number them like that with the 2 number padding, is going to be our 00 recreate db.sql.
Recreate db.
And if we get into it, we're going to be merciless on this one. It's going to be a brute force drop db for the local database. Here's a little
brute force drop db test and for local dev and unit test. So we do select pg terminate backend pg from pg start activity where use name app user, use name app user, or that name appdb. Okay, looks like this.
The trick in Postgres to kick out all of the sessions for a specific username or database name, and then we're going to drop the database if it exists, and then we're going to drop the user if it exists, and then we're
drop database if exists. Yeah, exactly, and drop
we are going to recreate them with hard-coded password. So those are just local host.
for local dev and unit test. So create, yeah, I guess user, app user, dev only PVD, and create owner app user encoding encoding. Yes, sorry, caps messing around with me. Encoding, yeah. UTF-8. So on my keyboard I don't see when caps is turned on, so I created this small app which shows the status of the caps in the status bar on the macOS. Yeah, I'm mostly done with ChatGPT help. Here is repository.
Host passwords, so they don't need to be encrypted or these kind of things. But the goal here is to be able to recreate the database, redrop it, and recreate it all the time, such as we can iterate very fast in our data model at the beginning of the development. The important point as well is that we are using AppUser and AppDB. We are not directly creating on the Postgres default, and that is very important to do it early on, otherwise later it's kind of a pain to refactor for it. So now if we bring back our SQL folder, dev initial, we're going to create a new one, which is going to be our 01 create schema.sql. And this one is the main one. And
so 01 create schema.
And that will be executed as an app user.
Yeah.
So we're going to have our base schema, and right now it's going to be really simple. User ID, we're using that, which is a new way of doing the big serial. And one technique that I like to do is for most of my tables, if not all, I always start the index at 1000. So that is an old technique that I have, such as I can reserve the previous IDs for internal tests or route users or system users or whatever I want.
So base up schema user. So create table user. Okay, create table user. ID pick in, right, generated by default as generated by default as identity start with and primary key. So yeah, I'm not really familiar with Postgres, so I'm just following what I'm doing, but yeah, generally SQL, create some table, I guess field ID, this is obviously type big int, and primary key, more or less clear. We don't need to really focus on it right now. Later on, when we want to do something ourselves, for sure we need to dive a little bit into details.
This is mostly a personal preference. And the important point on this one is to make sure that that is a primary key. And now we are just going to have the username right now. And then we are going to create another.
So user will have ID and username varchar not now unique. Okay. Then task, which actually what I'm looking for, because I won't build up share to do. And for sure we'll have tasks there.
Other table, which is going to be our task, and that will be the ID, same thing, and then it will just have a title for now. In future episodes, we are going to make that.
So ID has the same string and okay, we just can copy paste it. This is ID and this is title.
That much richer, but right now we want to show the basics on how to do a scalable code, and then we'll add features later. And now that we have that, we bring back our SQL dev initial folder. We are going to do another one, 02, and it's going to be our dev seed.sql. And that is just seeding the database with whatever we want for development. And right now we're going to keep it.
This is cool. So we will fill with some data. Yeah, it's very interesting, like it's not just tutorial, but it's something that with production in mind. So this is production techniques.
It's very, very simple. We're just going to insert a new user for.
So user demo 1. So insert into user. No. Yes.
For demo 1, and we're not even going to create a task. We'll do that in our unit test infrastructure. So in short, here we have 3 files. The first one will be executed by the Postgres root user, make sure that we can drop the database and recreate it, and then the 2 other one will be executed as the app user on the appdb. Now if we go back to main, we're going to create a specific module, and we're going to prefix it with underscore, and that is going to be our dev utils, and we're going to create it as a module file, and then eventually that will be used only for unit tests. Now,
okay. So dev utils module. Commented during early development and we create single file, right?
now if we get into it, every time we have a mod.rs, the thing I like to do
not
again,
single file, sorry. So let's delete this one and back to main, and let's create mod. Okay.
again is to have a code region, which is modules, and I'm defining my submodules. And in this case, we're going to define a dev DB, which is going to be part of our dev utils, which is going to recreate the database. So we're going to
dev DB.
going to get into it. And again, the goal here is to execute the 00 recreate DB with Postgres, and then execute these two in order with the app user on the app DB. And right now what we're going to do is going to be very simple. We're going to split on the semicolon and just execute each block. So in SQLX, I found a way to execute files, but it has to be statically named. And in our case, it's not about database migration or whatever. It's just about executing files the way that we would like to execute it. So that is why we're going to have to create it manually, but it's a good Rust exercise anyway. So we're going to use SQLX, pull and the Postgres, and then one thing that I like to do is create a type alias for pool Postgres. That is just a personal preference here. And we're going
DB pool
we're going to hardcode the root Postgres URL, which is Postgres welcome, and
pgd Postgres URL. Local host Postgres.
and the app Postgres URL as well, which is going to
So app, and here will be app user dev only pvd. App user dev only pvd and appdb.
going to be app user dev only password. So here is important to hardcode those passwords in a way, is because we never want by mistake to have this code run and erase stage or production or whatever. So if you hardcode them, then obviously it will fail in case it runs in this environment. And those are localhost passwords, so they are not really impacting anything. So we'll be using the dev app URL with this user to do the 001 and 002, and we'll use a Postgres URL with the Postgres welcome to recreate the app database. Now we're going to have some cons for SQL files. So that is going to be the SQL files that we're going to recreate.
Scale files and cons scale recreate db str scale think this is the pass, and this is SQL dev initial 00 create. Okay, dev initial and 00.
We create the database and we're just putting it there as one file, and then we're going to have the SQL dir, which is the directory of this file, which contains the other files as well. So the 00 recreate DB will run with the Postgres URL, and all of the other files in this folder will use with the app URL. So now the first thing that we need to do is obviously creating a new database pool, and we'll return a result of DB on SQL error. So we will take the connection URL, and then we are going to do the import here. And the duration is from standard time. Now we're going to create.
Okay, wait a second. So let's do this. Function UDB pool. Okay. Async and UDB pool. So DB connection URL, and what we return result DB SQLX error result DB or SQLX error. Sorry. And what we do, we return it from the function, so we don't create any variable. pg pool options new
Here. And the duration,
a max connection 1, accurate amount duration from millis, duration from, so 500. Connect DB con euro, and yeah, await. Result pool DB, and we have just DB. Is it okay? I think it is. There is no errors, so
is from standard time. Now we're going to create our first pexec, and that is going to execute one file. So it's going to take a database pool and then the file to be executed, and it will return a result void on SQLX error. We're going to do a first version that is going to be
okay. Async p exec db. Oh, actually this is pool db. Let's actually hide it in db. That's right. So file star, and what we return, I guess result unit or skull x error and to do macro.
Be very simplistic, and eventually in future episode I'm going to improve it if I still don't find a library to execute SQL files. So let's go into this function. We're going to do our debug print. We're going to use info in this case, and then we're going to read the file, and we can put a question mark.
Okay, info exec file. For the only, okay. For the then we will do read file, let content read I think we will need Tokyo. First read read to string and file, and I think it's not Tokyo, right? Will be std.
Mark, because SQL X error actually has a from standard IO. So that's why it works here. And then we are going to split the file into this SQL section that we can execute with SQL X. And we definitely need to make the split more SQL proof. So if you have SQL functions or store procedure.
Yeah, I feel like I need to reread result and error sections. I don't know, some section from the Rust book. After all this exercise, I think I can understand better this question mark, and actually understand question mark, but this error, throwing errors, I feel like it will be there is some insights. So Yeah, I think this chapter 9. This is just panic, and then we have result. Okay, some. And this is kind of exactly what we're doing, like there is file open, but we just do read from. And then there is a result, and we can match in results, but yeah, we can do unwrap or else. I can have the logic here and shortcut. This is why it's nice to read book first, and like you have these references in your head, and even if you not really deeply understand on the first read or even don't understand something, then in any moment when you face something you can think about it, back to this reference in your head. Like, you see something, okay, I read about this in the book, and now I can back to the book and recheck it. I think this is cool. So, and now shortcut for beginning errors. But the thing is, it should match to the return error. So file open, it's IO error, and this is, so the error should match this type of error. I think this is the hard part, that I'm not feeling why I'm just following here. On the other hand, it's maybe a good signal if you have a bunch of different errors. You either need to split your code somehow or create your error, which will explain what's going on in your function, what kind of errors it produces. So, chapter I'm actually stopped at this chapter, and here is the dynamic error. Type is straight object, which talk about section. Any kind of error. Okay. So yeah, maybe I should back to book reading stream and now I have strong motivation to read chapter 17. Alright, let's finish this section of our Axum course.
Is not going.
So there is some to do. Make the split more SQL proof. Make the split more SQL proof. So not sure what it means yet, but generally I think it means that there is something like dummy implementation which had their pitfalls and context split
Going to work very nicely. In future episode I will.
and we do collect here and we expect vector of slices. SQLSS and rec of string slices.
I will fix that, but right now I just wanted to have something.
Okay, yeah, not to do but fix me. I actually never use fix me in my development, so I might be start doing it. This cool. I use to do everywhere.
To work nicely. And now I do a for SQL in SQLs. So that will be our strings. And I'm just going to do SQLX, query, execute, and RDB. So SQLX can obviously execute one query at a time. There's a query many, but it doesn't really work with a full file content. So that
Okay, for SQL is SQL and SQL is, and we do SQLX query, SQLX query SQL, and we do execute DB await. So let me 1 minute to take a look on it. So we have read to string file, and the file I guess is, for example, one of the migration, and so split by semicolon. So this is will be 1 this will be true. And then we just iterate through each SQL command and execute it. So yeah, quite straightforward.
So that is a way I found it to do pretty well. And now I can return OK. Now
Okay.
Now that we have that, we are going to make our function, which is init devdb, and that will return a result. And we're going to make the error very generic on this one, which is going to be a box of the standard error. So I'm not using anyhow because I like anyhow to only be available on my examples and my unit test, but for my app.
Okay. And this is what we just looked in the in the book. And for now we can read box.error error to mean any kind of error. How cool it is. So pub async f and init devdb function which will return result and how it was box and now std error.
My application code, I prefer to be forced to be structured from the get-go. So in this case, because that is used inside my application code for now, I cannot use anyhow, so I'm using this workaround. Now we're going to do our debug print, and we're going to create the app database with a Postgres user. So we're going to have a let root DB. We're going to create our DB pool for root Postgres user. And now that we have that, we can do a
sorry. So let's start with some info log, then init devdb create app db and user with app db and app user with Postgres user. New db pool. Root db and we do new db pool pg dev postgres hero. and yeah, PG. And what else? And that's it, right? Right. Probably we need a wait.
pexec, the root DB, and our SQL recreate DB, and then that will be await.
Yeah, I believe we should have reference here.
Wait, that will execute the file. And because RootDB has full privilege of the database, I don't really like it to have it accessible later in the function. So rather to split that into his own function, I could put a drop RootDB to make sure that nobody can use it below, or another technique that I like, I just copy that into his own code block. So in this case, this code is copied with this block, and the RootDB will be dropped at the end. That is another way here that I like it. And I don't do that often, but sometimes when I don't want the variable to bleed below the function, this is a nice way to do it. Now we're going to get our SQL files.
Okay. Get SQL files.
So we're going to do a path, vector of path perf, and we're going to the read dir of the SQL dir. And we're going to do a filter map of entry, and we do entry.ok and the entry path. And then we collect. And this way, we get a vector of the path perf of this directory. We could use a work dir library or whatever.
So yeah, what we're doing here, we're getting passes of the files in the directory, right? With the filter map, I guess that filtering everything is not okay, and all error, we return the passes. Okay, let mat passes, sorry, pass vec pass buff do import from stdlib, and then we do fs read dir, and we have SQL dir variable const above. Okay. Unwrap it, then filter, so read dir is result read dir, entry. Okay. We not map, we do filter map, right? Filter map. Creates an iterator that both filters and maps. So we return, yeah. There is some option, enum, some variant, and for each okay, we do map of what map option of map. So entry is a dir entry, and we map it, so it's not error, it's dir entry, and we do dir entry pass. Right, and dir entry has the pass function, which return the full path to the file that this entry represent. So we filter everything which don't have values and return the paths of each dir entry. And we do collect, so convert it from the iterator to vector. Alright.
But since again this is very simple, we don't have to be that fancy. One thing we don't want to forget is to do a path sort. And the reason of that is because they don't come up always well sorted, and we have all of the names very well sorted by design, such as we can execute it sequentially. So by doing a path sort, we're making sure that everything is sorted well. Then we're going to execute each of the
sort the slice. When applicable, stable search the preview because it is generally faster than stable. So it will not work if we remove like this. Yeah. Because it mutates our passes.
Of the SQL file. So we're going to have our appdb, and that will be our appdb URL. And we're going to do a for path, a path, and then if we have a path from the string, we're going to do place here. This is a little hack for Windows, because in Rust, the good news is it supports /, but when you get the path buff as string, it will give the slash the Windows way. So this way, that works on both systems. And then we only want to take the SQL and obviously skip the SQL recreate. So we are going to say if path end with SQL, and if it's not our SQL recreate, we're going to do a pexec appdb and our path. And we could have put this condition into our filter map up there as well. Either way works. And then
so what we do here, we iterate through our file passes and execute everything that have SQL extension and not our recreate DB, which we already done. Alright. So for if let sum pass will be pass what we do here to string to is_char, do like this. Then we do some tweak for Windows. We can skip it. Can skip it because I'm not deal with Windows for ages, and I don't think I will deploy it on Windows. The only case, right, we will edit the only case if someone will work with me on this project and then he will use the Windows. So this is probably the case. Let again pass no, the Copilot has some good idea. Pass, where it gone? Yes, please. For Windows. Okay. Only take SQL files and ignore recreate DB. So if pass ends with SQL and not ends, I think not equal like this. Yeah. Then AppDB, and AppDB we missed created. There is AppDB, new DB pool, and there is should be dev app. Here, I think I might made some mistake. So I want to go and take a look to the sources. So we need to do rewinding. Hey, aim. So p exec is right from here. We wrote it just a few minutes ago. What we do here, we read the file content, split it by semicolon, and yeah, just execute query. And this is also, we mentioned this is not the best way, need something better solution, but for now it's fine. Yeah, I'm basically not familiar with this Rust ecosystem and not much with backend development. Like I have some knowledge, but don't really do any backend developer for a while. So it's kind of cool mix for me. I'm learning from this guy Jeremy Chong and his course Rust Axum. So it's like give me some knowledge of how to use Rust, and at the same time is how to build like production backend, which I would say 2 domains of knowledge I'm getting from it. Really nice. Totally would recommend someone who wants to learn Axum or yeah. I actually did read the book. Not finished yet. I did 16 chapters and but I did it like half a year ago and didn't really practice. So I have some references in my head. So yeah, after practice it's good to come back and review. And of course I need to finish the book. It's like not much left, to be honest. But yeah, now just practicing with this course. Actually, my feeling, like in most languages you can like jump and do some tutorials. In Rust, I think, at least it's my opinion, it's good to have some basics from the book. Yeah, there is no like perfect way to do anything. We should do some back and forth in learning. And I'm actually doing it not really with any purpose, like just because I don't know, I am interested in Rust and that's it. Yeah. I actually read book about how it's like how it's called. It's a book about how to best way to learn things and different papers on this field in science. And the best way is learning. One of the point was this is individual, like what's work for one person for other person may not work. And another good point was it's better when you choose yourself some directions, like you have like pick the way you wanted to learn something. In this case you will be more effective. Of course there is some general recommendation for everyone, but after you have it you should be able to pick your way from these recommendations or even something else. So yeah. I believe for some people they would be bored to read book and they give up on Rust before they even started. For me it was fun. I read the book on streams. This is how I started streaming actually. But then I realized it's a bit hard to read book, and yeah, I did it in the evening, so it was, to be honest, it's hard to read book, understand it, communicate, and after a work day it feels a bit too much. Morning streams much better. Like it's my start of the day and feel more fresh, energetic, and head is working much better after a cup of coffee. And actually I see there is time to go to my actual work, so it's kind of, I not finish a little bit, but maybe I will finish on my own in the evening. I think there is no explanation how to create PostgreSDB, so I will need to spend time of set up it. Okay. Hey, hello. Okay, now I want to finish the stream and people just appear and start chatting. Okay, I can stay a little bit more. Yeah, I think it's like you want to do longer streams because it takes time. People find you and yeah, and things like this. But yeah, unfortunately just a hobby, and spending couple hours every day, it's already a big pressure. We're good. We are doing actually not doing anymore, but did this progress on Rust Axum production coding. It's a really great course by Jeremy Chon. So yeah, learning Rust, learning Axum. Yeah, this is where I'm like trying to keep me on the line. Like I'm trying mostly do things I like to do, even without stream, without people. So yeah. So even if nobody were there and I did something, I'm happy after the stream. Thank you guys for the follow. Always welcome. Right now I am trying to do stream every weekday, like working weekday, like 1 hour, 1 hour and a half before the work. And yeah, I jumped through the different topics. Like my main work is React Native, so sometimes we're doing React Native here. And yeah, interested in Rust, so learning Rust. And everything else. So yeah, I know like Docker. I haven't used it for a while. Like last time, like my background with backend development is Magento. If you heard about it, this open source e-commerce, and it was like last time I used it 2018, so like 5 years ago. But yeah, Docker wasn't work well. Yeah, I'm doing this sometimes, like, but it's really when work is don't require concentration. Otherwise, I feel like I'm not doing anything. Just efficiency is super low for me. Also, I'm using macOS, and I don't know, back in the days with this big project Magento, and Docker and macOS didn't connect really well. So I learned it, but I don't really use it. So I think I understand how Docker works, so it's not a problem. Actually, we are using it at work. In our projects, we use Python, Django, Postgres, Docker, everything. But I am a front-end developer. I'm joined as actually mobile developer with React Native, but we kind of do startup work and do different things. So some Shopify frontend, React frontend, everything. But yeah, my like most deeper knowledge is React Native and mobile development. Oh. Yeah, this is like streaming. It's like everything else. Like it's a skill, or it's like can be compared to the job. Like making YouTube video. I have a YouTube channel. Like not this one. And Yeah, there is huge difference between the first video I made like in 2020 and my video. So sure, it takes time to become better at things. Yeah, Tauri is interesting. Maybe we'll do some small project in it. Because like Electron is widely used for desktop apps, and Tauri feels like a next step, and they actually want to do mobile as well in Tauri too, so yeah, really excited about Tauri, but right at the moment it's like hard to pick project I want to build with it, but generally yeah, I like it. Oh, sorry, Jack, had this monorepo question. You mean in Rust or general or what? At work we have monorepo, but so far it's, I don't know, on the front end side no one pushed the effort make it work well, I would say. We have some code duplications, this is awful. But I think Rust has like Rust Cargo has built-in support for monorepos, and it's really cool. Actually, this is what make Rust really cool. It's like ecosystem, it's cargo and everything. It feels really modern. Like, I probably want to learn C++, because it's like used a lot now under the hood in React Native, but yeah, when you think you compare it to Rust in the build systems and everything, it's, oh, fuck off. I don't want to deal with it. So yeah. Probably. Yeah, the trend definitely there. Like, we see the big companies starting more and more using it. Like Meta recommend use it for internal tools. Microsoft invest in it. Linux kernel. Yeah. Rust pop-ups more and more. So yeah, unless it face some major problems, I don't know, but I think biggest problem so far is build time. I'm not sure how it works for the huge code bases. Probably it's a real issue. Yeah, for sure. But it's like not my opinion. I don't feel like I didn't build anything that bother me with build time. It's just have some build time, but for me it's really fast so far. But like in the real world, it's probably disadvantage. But yeah, it's not stop people to adapt in Rust, so I think it is what it is, and Rust is growing. And people just like using Rust. What is? It's like, I don't know. My feeling is, well, like it's just something cool. Even if I start my own project, I probably pick something else. Like I have, for example, for mobile development, I probably will use React Native, and for the backend solution, I will need to pick something like Supabase or something for my indie project, for example. And but you also feel like you want to do something in Rust. It's, I don't know, it's cool feeling. So Rust is growing, and I think it has bright future. So okay, thank you guys. Thank you for the follow. I usually around in this time. Yeah. Always want to do some rewrite. So yeah, as I said, around same time every weekday, working weekday. Here, welcome to chat about anything Rust. I don't know, development 10 years ago, like when I started. Ciao, ciao. And yeah.